Welcome everybody to another event of the HubSpot Admins Hug. Super excited to have you all here. We are going to go ahead and get started with this. All right, so this is the homepage for the HubSpot Admins Hug. If you're not familiar, please check it out. Bookmark it. This is your source of truth for our events. We meet every Tuesday at this time, and this is where you can see what's coming up. So you are right here making HubSpot work for admins and RevOps. Super excited to have this group of HubSpot product people and UX folks here to talk with you about that. Next week, we're going to have some friends from Typeform coming. After that is Portent. After that is Supered. Have a whole series of app partners here talking in the run up to Inbound. At Inbound, for those of you who are going, by the way, let us know in the chat if you are going to Inbound. We'd love to see you there. We're going to have this meetup. There's lots of meetups happening at Inbound. So definitely just search the agenda for admin things and you'll find all kinds of stuff. The couple of weeks after Inbound, we're going to just recap things that were announced and changed and new things because of Inbound. And then we have a couple of events farther out. But keep an eye on this page. We're adding new events all the time. And the best way to stay up on top of them is to look here. Also, all of our events are recorded and put here on our YouTube channel. Last week was our 100th event. We now have 100 videos on YouTube. Very exciting. This will be our 101st. So feel free to review these, share these, whatever you need. If you missed a session, this is a great place to find it. We also have a space on HubSpot community we use occasionally. It's worth checking out. We have a group on LinkedIn. It's really fun. I think the best place to connect with fellow HubSpot admins is this Slack community called Sprocketeer. We are very near 2,000 people in there. These are all HubSpot admin types. Brainstorming together, collaborating, problem solving, networking, commiserating, all the things that admins do. Definitely join it. That's your best place to connect with other admins and to get all the benefits that come from that. Big news! The dates for the next round of boot camps have finally been announced. I don't know how many weeks I've been pulling up this page and being like, I promise someday the new dates will be announced. They are here. These boot camps are going from mid-October to mid-November. Registration is closed, but I don't know why. Anyway, we're getting closer. Mark your calendar. Super Admin Bootcamp opens October 17th. You'll definitely want to. I can't imagine they all filled up already. So just keep your eye on it. They do fill up fast, but not that fast. They're coming. They're free 6-week cohort-based trainings. Very worthwhile. This platform we're using is called Bevy. This webinar you're in right now, it occasionally struggles a bit. But your most basic troubleshooting techniques are usually the best ones. So if anything is out of sync or frozen or you can't hear, refresh the page, leave the webinar and come back, try a different browser. That will usually shake out the bugs. Again, we do this every single week on Tuesday. If you have any suggestions of content you'd like to see here, either topics or presenters, let us know, fill out this form or reach out to me or Deanna directly. We are happy to take your input so we can make this as relevant as possible. And that's all I've got for you. So I'm going to turn it over to Drew and friends here. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you all for taking time out of your super busy day. My name's Drew. I'm a researcher on the Operations Hub team. And I have some of my folks here. Christine's our head of UX and Operations Hub. Aaron is a researcher in Ops Hub, and Prashant as well. And Alex is a designer. So everybody say hi. Basically, we are trying to make operations and admins people's lives better. And I know that there's probably some things that you guys feel pain about in using HubSpot every day. And we're here to actually just hear that. So this is more for us to just kind of listen to what you all have to say. So we have a bunch of questions that we're going to jump in the chat. We're going to pop them in the chat kind of like systematically. And then there will be a few that I'll just ask that some of you come off camera and explain and elaborate a little bit more on, those specific pain points that you're feeling. So does all that sound good? I guess I have no way of telling. So we're going to assume yes. And I'll drop the first question in the chat and I'll say it out loud too. So here it is. where in HubSpot are you spending the majority of your time? And this can just be like a tool or a feature, or like an area of HubSpot. You don't have to be overly specific or anything. I just want to kind of like hear where you're spending the majority of your time. Lots of workflows coming in, lists and workflows, contacts. Workflows is gonna
Being a clear trend.
I wish we could have like one of those like polling things that's
Yeah.
like, workflows is out. No, it's reporting.
This is fascinating. I can't say I'm surprised, but for some reason it's still amazing to see how much workflows is in here.
I just saw a data cleanup in there.
I did too.
Alex is a designer on our data cleanup tools. That's why he's good on that. Okay, it looks like we've kind of slowed down a little bit. It's still coming in.
For people seeing data cleanup and data quality, is there a specific place that you're doing that?
Seeing lots of duplicate management.
Yeah.
Which now has filtering and search, which is pretty cool.
Okay, so I'm going to ask another question. I know answers are still coming in, but if you can switch gears a little bit here, I just want to make sure that we're like drawing a line here on the answers. But I want to hear, which parts of HubSpot do you find the most problematic for yourself as a admin or ops person? I'm going to post it in the chat now.
Just meta commentary. I love that this is the conversation we're having, right? Like, not your favorite parts, not the best parts. Like, let's find the problems.
Yeah,
it's
one of the pains of being a UXer. I think we're always looking for problems to solve. So,
love it.
But this is excellent information.
But specifically going into next year, we really, really want to fix ease of use for everyone. And we hear loud and clear from you all that some of the ways that you are managing HubSpot, we've not made easy for you. So we want to know what to prioritize. User adoption is a good one.
I just responded to that one, Christine.
I don't know if anybody's like, if I can just call folks out, but Joanne Jeffrey said workflow's not doing exactly what I want them to do and having to find workarounds. If you're willing to, you don't have to, but if you're willing to come on camera and elaborate a little bit more on what you're trying to get workflows to do, but it's not working for you. And Kyle, do I have to like do anything special there?
So folks, we would throughout this love for some of you to come on stage with us and talk in real time. If you can find the option to raise your hand, which is tucked away under the More menu, go ahead and click that. And when your hand is raised, there she is. We can bring people on stage. That worked beautifully. Joanne, you're an excellent example.
That works so well. Joanne, you're on mute.
Sorry, everything's a little bit slower on this bevy. Hopefully you'll all hear me. So
yep,
yeah,
we can hear you.
With workflows, I suppose it's more about the triggers, and I find it really hard to get things to continuously update with data, because it will say, oh, this re-enrollment is not applicable, or you can't create this. And I just find it like almost like it's a bit too techie. I've come into this role from like a project management role within the business, so I'm not a techie background, and I suppose I just find it a bit difficult to find it to just say on this day or just do this when this happens, and those triggers don't seem to be awfully obvious, if that makes sense.
Sure. And what what kind of workarounds are you putting in place to work around that problem?
I mean, even if I look at like the simplest thing, I had to create a property that had a today's date and a today's year just to be able to make functions work after a certain period of time. So we're a publishing company, so we reach out to companies based on news. The amount of properties and workflows I had to go to calculate an anniversary for a company based on their founding date was madness. When generally it should be, if this date is a certain amount of time after this, then alert the user. Sorry, I've come in a little bit unprepared. I probably should have had more examples.
No, that's just totally okay.
And yeah, you're getting a lot of applause in the chat. You are singing the song of the HubSpot admins. You're right on track.
Fabulous. Thank you.
Drew, can I jump in with a quick one?
Yeah.
I saw a few people in the chat talking about the dumbing down of workflows, and I was wondering if anyone might be willing to explain more what was meant by that. I'm sorry, for some reason my keyboard controls froze when I joined. I don't know if that's like a bevy bug, but like I can't actually scroll or type in the chat, but I don't know who it is. But if there's anyone in the chat that resonates with, like the dumbing down of workflows, we'd love to hear more. Even if you just add it to the chat, that's okay. Adele is willing. Thanks, Adele.
Yeah, it seems like when the changes for workflows came about, that the way that they're being built, there are some functions that were added that are wonderful, like the walking through the process of being able to add it to business units, make sure you've set permissions properly. But the triggers themselves and the way that the way it used to work versus the way it works now, it's a prettier UX. But it feels like the ability to set up a workflow has become more complicated by making it look simpler. The different types of workflows, like instead of just being able to put in all the triggers, now it limits you. Or when you go to have a re-enrollment trigger, you can only select based on certain things within that, not everything. So it's just, it seems like things were set up in a way that make it easier for maybe someone who's non-techie to keep people in a lane versus some who are probably trying to do more advanced workflows. It limits greatly. So I'm having to build additional workflows to feed my workflow in order for those to continue to be useful. And I'm seeing a lot of people have this same situation, so I'm glad I'm not talking out of turn. And I mean, I've raised hands many times to say, look, you guys want feedback. We have a massive client. You guys actually are a client of them. HubSpot is. And so we're always willing to like offer the suggestions and show like, hey, this is where we're running into issues when it comes to how this is used. I feel like a lot of what's being built is being built for the very small business who does not have a complicated setup. But as you guys continue to build toward enterprise, you're forgetting about enterprise and how complicated enterprise can be with the many integrations they have and the different type of data that's being fed into HubSpot. So it's making it increasingly more difficult, albeit for myself and probably other HubSpot partners. It's fantastic because nobody's ever letting us go because we're the only ones who know how to figure it out because we keep figuring it out. But it really sucks that we have to keep figuring the same things out.
Yep.
So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, that's incredible feedback. Thank you so much, Adele.
Yeah.
Margaret, did you want to weigh in with more?
Margaret, you're on mute if you're trying to get off of mute, or maybe your keyboard froze.
Wait, oh my goodness, I'm talking, chatting away.
Okay.
First of all, I agree with Adele and all that she just said. I have two. There's one example that I wanted to share with you, and then another just point of feedback. So, one example would be we set up a workflow and we tested it and it's working and we're running it, and then all of a sudden we realized that somebody who should be in the workflow is not in the workflow because something in the trigger that we didn't think about is causing them to not meet the criteria for the trigger. So then we find, okay, so it takes us a couple hours to figure out, okay, how many people did this trigger not allow into the workflow that should have been? And in this particular case, they should have gotten a series of emails they didn't get. So now we got to figure out who didn't get the emails they were supposed to. And then we have to create a list of those people, clone that workflow again, and have them run through, because they might now be at step 4. They should be at step 4. We don't want to start at the beginning of the workflow through a full re-enrollment. Like being able to re-enroll someone halfway through the workflow. And I don't know how you've solved for this, but like checking that people that should be getting it are getting it and not getting filtered out. Does that make sense? It's kind of hard to talk through.
It does,
Yep.
yeah. Thank you.
And then the other thing that I would just say is just visually, especially when you get into more complicated workflows, the map, the boxes, just from a design perspective, the boxes are so spread out far apart that it's hard to see your 10,000 foot view of your workflow and still be able to read. Like if you zoom all the way out, now you can't read it. But if you zoom all the way in, now you can only get a piece of it at a time.
That makes a ton of sense to me. And I see people saying that you're describing their life in the chat.
And like being able to take a screenshot of it so I can show my boss, this is how we set it up. It's very hard to do. I can't get a screenshot of it onto a PowerPoint because it's so spread out. And then if you zoom out too much, you can't read it. So just, I don't know how you fix that, but good luck. That was super helpful.
I got Aaron, I think you were up next.
Thank you, Margaret.
And then we're gonna move on to another question set after this one. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks guys. I appreciate it. I think I provide context on this. So I work at a partner and we do a lot of this stuff. And I think what I'm hearing, I kind of understand too, is what I actually like a lot of the workflow stuff that's been implemented. Like I feel like it's very like microservice driven, and like I kind of see where you guys are going with it. It's like super easy if you understand the structure of the system. But what is difficult, and I think what some people experience coming from other systems is how does the workflow tie to like a business process, for instance? So like if you work in NetSuite, a workflow can be like, it's not like when event happens. It's like when event happens, you're enrolled, and it could be like 75 different events happen, and you're still in this workflow until thing down the road happens. And I think so. I'll give you a very specific example. So we do like a lot of NetSuite integration with HubSpot. And so it's like when a quote gets signed, we need to calculate a value on a property. We need to assign it to a division. We do all that stuff. And then we want to create the sales order with all this detail filled in on it. However, sometimes that detail fails because of the logic given from the client, like not fully driven. So it errors out midway, and it's hard to identify like, okay, there's actually 3 steps that happen once a quote is signed. We generate values, we do a reference, and then we send it to NetSuite, and then we sync back the ID. Seeing like how it's flowing in those steps it's sort of like how you tie the workflows into like a business process. And we kind of re-engineer that using state properties that like we tag through each workflow, like, okay, it's moved to this step, now it's moved to this step, and it's failed or it's done here. But I think it's kind of what I'm hearing is like, how do you tie the workflows to like the business like flow that you're expecting? Because you might need like 5 workflows to get through one step, because it's like in scenario X, look up this, if not, do this, you know. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool.
Okay. Also, you've been called Will Arnett in the chat. Hopefully that's a compliment for you. All right, we're going to move on to another question here. I'm going to post it in the chat. So how many of you have your sales, service, and marketing teams on HubSpot today? And just before you start responding, just say all of these, or sales, service, marketing, just basically like call out the teams that you have on HubSpot today. All, just marketing, sales, and service, both. Decent mix.
Warms my heart to see how many of you have all. That's great.
Marketing off. That's interesting.
Yeah, Cheryl, would you mind hopping off camera and explaining a little bit more about that, about moving off of marketing off of HubSpot? You just have to request presenter mode, and if folks want to continue answering that in the chat, that's great.
I am proactively giving Cheryl presenter mode because I saw a yep in the chat, so hopefully that's okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can, yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you. So we just recently did this. We were putting out, I will tell you right off the bat, this was due to user not adoption. We were struggling, but we are having so much stuff come into HubSpot, whether it was manually putting it in. We were working with Zoom Info at one time. We moved over to Apollo, and we were just having so much junk in there, and our marketing team was struggling to be able to appropriately find that we need marketing.
Cheryl, I'm having trouble hearing you. I don't know if it's everything or if it's my computer.
I'm also having trouble.
Wireless headset. Is that better?
Yeah, it sounds like you're talking through an 8-bit microphone.
Where I sit in the office, the internet's not real So I've moved. So we were struggling being able to keep things clean in there. And one of the things is we had so many companies and contacts be added in there because the email domain, if they're different from the company domains, they were creating additional and multiple entries into HubSpot for us. And it just got to be too much for our marketing team to be able to, between me and another admin and our marketing team to be able to keep the information clean. It just, and we are struggling with some of the workflow issues that were previously mentioned as well, trying to help keep up with that as to keep things clean additionally.
Can I restate what I think I'm hearing from you? It sounds like the marketing data was creating data integrity issues in your CRM that were too hard to keep up with. Is that a fair way to categorize it?
Yes, I think that's accurate. But then if to go along with that, if our team members were entering or importing information, if the email domain was different on a end user or a customer, a contact rather, trying to keep up with my HubSpot vernacular. If that were different, that was adding at least one and sometimes multiple entries into HubSpot.
Does this resonate with other folks where it's hard to balance marketing data needs against the integrity of your CRM for other users? Yes, I'm seeing a lot of yeses.
Thank you, Cheryl. Would anybody that's saying yes right now, I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. All right, Tina. Thank you, Cheryl.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Good morning. So this is something that I work with the auto industry, and a lot of our shops don't have a dedicated URL. So we get a lot of the free emails, and we do a lot of shows, and we have the same problem where because it's a Gmail address and they have their personal address and they might have a work address and they don't remember what they used to sign up with our system, that we have a dedicated contractor that works 40 hours a week and merges. That's all she does. Is she's looking at the data, she's looking at the emails, she's finding everything she's got to just merge duplicates. And with it being the email, we kind of wish we could say, if email and phone number, then give us, a duplicate or something like that. It's just, we looked at her numbers. Her merges since the beginning of the year is over 11,000 this year.
Can I just ask maybe
manager was like, oh, you've only done like 1,500. We're like, no, 11,000. So that is the biggest. Yes.
Can I ask maybe a dumb question here? I guess where is she doing this merging of duplicates? Is it outside of HubSpot or inside HubSpot?
She's doing she's doing it in HubSpot.
Okay.
But we also use InCycle to identify more duplicates. So she goes through the ones that you guys identify first because she can do it really quick. And then she's like, if InCycle says, this many companies are missing addresses, she'll go find the addresses and put them in, and that helps her find more duplicates. On contacts, it's really hard for her to do because it's around email, and our contacts we don't always get a shop phone number from them. We don't know if it's a shop or personal number. And if they give us an address, we don't know if it's their personal address or if it's the shop address. So we have all these pieces of data that normally and everywhere else I've worked, we get that and use it for deduping. But in our current state, we can't do that. And like I said, we have a dedicated contractor that puts 40 hours in. And that's all she's doing is she's deduping, updating data to find more duplicates. And it's just that is our biggest pain point in HubSpot is just the data cleanliness. And it's none of your fault. This is just what the world is throwing at us. And we need help figuring out a faster way to identify them.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Tina.
Yeah, thank you, Tina.
Okay, so I think we're hitting a vein here on duplicates. I'm going to ask a related question to the first initial question, which was about how many teams you brought on to HubSpot. But I want to ask a question about what are some reasons that teams don't want to move on to HubSpot? So are there reasons you're hearing specifically that like maybe the marketing team doesn't want to join HubSpot, or the sales team or service team, or any of those combinations? Sales doesn't like change. We've heard that before. Yes, Chris.
So for our teams, one of the things that we've noticed is service teams may not have a contact or a company that's related to the specific issue. So they're taking those, what we would want as calculatable, measurable activities outside of HubSpot to like Jira tickets or something like that, where maybe it's a report of a certain incident or something that affects multiple providers or of our clients, but isn't specific to one or a specific company. So they're just using Jira tickets instead, which obviously we could duplicate via the integration, but it'd be great to have a way that we could have a ticketing system that doesn't necessarily need all of the association attached, at least in some way.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Are there any like specific reasons around data that you're not, or this is for anybody, are there specific reasons around data needs that you're specifically not bringing a particular team on to HubSpot? Chris, you're back.
So one of the other things that obviously is probably in progress, but we're a healthcare specific company, so the inability for email to be HIPAA compliant is a huge blocker for us working with client specific data. So even if we get a ticket that's related to a specific issue, we then have to take that out of the system into a totally different system in order to communicate about that. Yeah, we can have the data in HubSpot, but we can't really do anything with it if we can't have a conversation with those specific parties about it. So that would be a huge win for us if we could get HIPAA security in the email.
Thank you, Chris. Laura, you wanted to add?
Hey there. Yeah, I was just thinking about data and why a team might not want to come on. One thing that got brought up by a client recently was that they would love to associate products with service tickets so that they can see like which ones are problematic, but they were talking about obviously not wanting a two-way association because you don't want, like, you might want products associated with tickets, but then you might want to be able to report on it, but then you also don't want to like see a ticket on every product at the same time. So just the background data thing that somebody brought up the other day.
Thank you.
Drew, we have a question in Q&A from Matthew and others about manually adding contacts to a campaign. We can take this now or later.
I'd say later. I'm not going to have any specific advice for them at this point. Leanne Blackwell, you had mentioned issues with getting higher education and nonprofit strategies to blend into built-in sales processes. I would love to, if you were willing to come on. Thank you.
So it's partially the strategies and partially the user adoption. So we work for a cybersecurity organization within a university system. So we work with state agencies. We're kind of middlemen. We do a lot of events, outreach, research, that sort of thing. And because we're not selling a traditional product, which a lot of HubSpot is built to do really well, it's difficult to get our users to overlook some of the built-in kind of like naming conventions and things like that, and really like dive in and use HubSpot in a different way. Like we've used, I tried to get them to use deals as kind of like partnerships for MOUs and things like that, kind of like tracking how they're moving through. But the limitation of people's imagination is there to kind of put the two together.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. Are there other examples of where the way we steer you towards setting things up in HubSpot is a mismatch for your organization? I'm thinking here, like we hear a lot about the industry examples, but I'm curious if we have other examples that have more to do with just changing your go-to-market strategy.
Lindsay hopped on that one as soon as you started talking about it.
Hey, Lindsay, you're on mute.
There you go.
Okay, there you go. I work for a construction industry company. So we have a lot of challenges with the new lead object. We've talked to RAM and we understand like the background of the lead object, but while we were here, it's a good example. We need to associate like a general contractor and an owner, maybe even an architect to a certain lead. So I think right now the features of leads are too simple, but if it gets expanded on in the future, I would love to be able to like incorporate some of that into it. And I think for now, like one thing that gets confusing is we have a custom object called project leads so that we can do that similar to how you can do it on a deal. But then our reps see all the new stuff about the new lead object, like in the views, it's pretty central. So, and they even got notifications about leads, which are more like contact level. So it kind of just causes a little bit of rep confusion. And maybe if there was a way we could like hide that until the lead object is ready for us to use.
So basically it's causing, I mean, there's things that are coming through like the product cycle that we're shipping that's basically like causing a little bit of like, because of the naming conventions mainly. Is that right? Okay. But so the way that you guys solved the issue at hand though was to use a custom object to basically replace what your actual lead object should be.
Correct. And then we have a workflow, like once they qualify it, they hit qualify and the workflow like moves all the properties and attach contact and company to the deal. So that way their deal pipelines are a little bit cleaner and they're mostly qualified opportunities.
Got it. Thank you, Lindsay.
Yep, thank you.
Brandon, you wanted to add to that?
So one of the things that I've thought about with leads specifically is that a lot of the people that I talk to and that I've worked with have been like, well, leads are representing contacts in HubSpot and we're selling to companies. So kind of like was already said, like there may be 3, 4, 5 people associated with the selling motion, but the lead as it sits really only allows you to do one in a understandable way. And it's like it's wanting to be an object, but it's not quite there. And so it makes it hard for a lot of the end users of HubSpot, like the sales reps who are not as in depth on the understanding of how it works. It's really, really confusing for them because it's like not an object like everything else, but they want to treat it like it is, but there's not a way to directly interface with the lead. So it's really confusing and hard to drive adoption.
I hear that. Thank you. Wilhelmina?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, awesome. One of the things that I've come around to is just, just kind of adding on to what was mentioned before is how HubSpot is really great at helping with, the process of pushing traditional products, but non-traditional products. So working with a client, for instance, they have a product that if they, the deal is closed won, it will span over the course of 5 years. So, are they entering 5 deals for every year, or are they entering that one deal and counting it over and over again? Because it's, let's say it's, for instance, it's like a SaaS product that they're selling, and this is a deal and contract they won, but they can't count that whole revenue for that 1 year. They have to count it for 5 years. And so how, do you enter in a deal like that so they can understand what their revenue was for that particular year instead of entering like 5 deals in the system? Does that make sense?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have like just like a tangent of this question. Are there any folks that are doing product-led growth in their companies where they're basically trying to use usage data to inform different like segmentations or marketing or sales outreach? If you are, I'd love for you to come on and talk about that. If you're trying to do that in HubSpot, if you're running into walls that way. Seeing a lot of yes. Anybody want to come on and talk about it? All right, Daniel.
Hi, everyone. I think I showed this in the last event as well. Basically, I'm working now with a client where we integrated their application with HubSpot through a third-party tool, and we are syncing exactly usage data into HubSpot. So we have created a custom object that it's called a bit weirdly as in usage days, even though the usage is like cloud-based usage. So clients get billed by, let's say, minute, but the application saves daily the consumption that it's done for that respective customer, and then it's synced daily into this usage day custom object. The challenge with it is, for example, the fact that, or at least I haven't figured out the way to create or add a custom report at company level or at company page. I can add a single object report, but that's only a company report, and I need a custom object report because I want to see a graph with consumption or usage in every day, which are basically those records in the custom object. And right now I can do that only if I create like a card type of report where I do, let's say, certain calculations like, I don't know, sum of the usage in the last 7 days or sum of the usage in the last 30 days. I can take the data from the custom object and bring it into the company page, but I cannot really create like a line chart, line report in which I can see how that respective client's daily usage evolves through time. So that's a limitation in that aspect.
Thank you, Daniel.
But working with it like that.
Thanks. Anybody else that's working with product data, product usage data, trying to bring that into HubSpot? David. You're on mute, David.
Oh,
there you go.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
There we go. Yeah, so we're a SaaS company. We sell recruitment software. Our customer team, we brought them onto the Service Hub.
David, we lost you.
Oh, you lost me?
You're back. You're back.
Yeah. That's good. So we brought them onto the platform last year. We are long-term users on the growth side of things with HubSpot. So we're really keen at the moment.
Yeah, I lost you again, David.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, good. So we're just looking at bringing our users' data on from our platform into HubSpot so we can do things like alerts if someone's not logged in, if they're underutilizing a feature, to be able to flag that to our customer team to reach out with the right message at the right time. I think the biggest challenge we have is just getting the data from one system to the other. That will probably require some work on our side as well, though. So there's quite a lot of manual processes involved in that at the moment around doing uploads. So any way to make that quicker. I know you've done a lot of work on uploading lists onto HubSpot and uploading data recently, but anything like that would be very helpful for that team.
Great, thank you, David. Danielle.
Yeah, so one of my clients operates in the education space, and they are they basically have an online library of things that educators can access. And so we are in the process of setting up a ton of custom events that are being piped through Segment. So they have their website set up on Drupal, they're running Salesforce, they have a data warehouse, they're running Segment, and then they're piping it back into HubSpot to help with marketing segmentation. But we've had to be very granular with how we set up those custom events so that they can get to the segmentation that they want to. And they're developing that, what they call the engagement model, outside of HubSpot and all of the documentation around it. So they're saying, this, and this, we'll define them as this level of engagement, but that processing is actually happening in their data warehouse. We toyed with the idea of doing it in workflows or scores, but ultimately they wanted to have a little bit more separation and like macro level across their platforms. But having to define those custom events and go through that exercise has been fun.
Are there any like specific tools in addition that are being used? I mean, I know you mentioned Segment, but is there any other like I think you said manual a couple times, like where are spreadsheets being used there? Like, are there other kind of situations on the side there?
They're using spreadsheets for documentation and communication primarily. For their data warehouse, they're using BigQuery. And then I think they're using Google Looker on top of that to help pull it all together. I just showed them journey reports in HubSpot though, so hopefully they'll get a little bit more reporting done in HubSpot now.
Thank you so much. All right, I have another question that's related. It's more general than just product data, but what are the biggest pains about bringing in and using data in HubSpot? So this is just trying to bring in other third-party data into HubSpot and then trying to use it in HubSpot. Question is in the chat. Date, time, format, duplicates.
Wow, lots of duplicate management again.
Anybody else? I think I saw one somebody say, I think it was Andrew Babb, said events. Andrew, would you like to elaborate on that? Thanks. You're on mute. There you go. You're off.
There we go. Yeah, so I love the way that events import into HubSpot through the third parties, but I would love to be able to do some more reporting on it because we do a lot of events in person and hybrid. And so it'd be great to be able to report on it, kind of the same way you do with a list, where you could look at the last event that somebody attended as like a property and that kind of thing. And so right now we have to kind of do some workarounds and workflows to create a, paste a value into a property and then that kind of thing when we do it manually. So it would be really great to be able to report on those events a little bit more than we currently can.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Drew, we have about 10 minutes left. Do we want to open it up? Are there things that you guys just feel like we should be doing differently within the product to make things better for you that we haven't specifically talked about yet? It could be how we are approaching rollouts. It could be anything. What do you feel like you would want to tell our product teams to do differently to improve the product for you and for your end users? Slow down a little bit. SLAs, headless CMS, more admin controls. By the way, we appreciate all the positive reinforcement for all the hard work everyone's doing too. We're very grateful to you all. More consistency around the tool. That is definitely a big goal for us right now. Does anyone have an example of where the inconsistency is the most painful? Like, I would be curious to know if it's differences in functionality. Matthew, I'd love to hear from you.
Matthew was on that, and I think
you're muted.
Well, you're not muted, but we didn't hear you. You might have to give.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So that was kind of my around campaigns. There's a lot of stuff that's happening that's really great. That I've lived a lot in ops, sales, and service hub, and I'm starting to stretch more into marketing hub as our marketing team's kind of growing. And like that's been the biggest thing. I'm like, oh, I can just pull some reports and dashboards, and then I go to like, you can't really pull campaign data because it's like its own little thing, its own little world, and you just got to go to campaigns to look at that. And our team's like, cool, but I can see everything else in dashboards. Why can't I see campaign data there? I'm like, because it's not there. Please don't hate me. But they like that's like one of their kind of the biggest things like I struggle with is a lot of the marketing tools are kind of stuck in Marketing Hub, and you can't show them in other places. And that's when it feels like we're doing such a good job with sales and service and ops and commerce are all very well connected, but Marketing Hub just like on its little own island. And there's like maybe one or two properties you can pull over on that. But that's the thing I'm dealing with right now. So I'm like, I know HubSpot's better than this. Like, why can't I pull this?
Thank you, Matthew. Chris, you wanted to add?
Yeah, one of the things that we've noticed recently was, or it's become apparent to us recently, is back to, one of our previous comments was about workflows and re-enrollment. If you go into a list, the amount of things that you can do segment and look at different activities and things is far greater than what you can do in workflows. So that's a real frustration for us, where then we just have to basically create a list to force it into the workflow, because we don't have that filtration criteria around certain types of properties, like changed after certain property or changed before a certain property or updated in the last. Like sometimes those just don't come up in the workflow, but they'll come up in a list. So then we just have to use a list to enroll in a workflow, and then we get an excess of lists and that thing. So that's where it just feels a little disjoint. It's like, if I can do it in a list, why can't I just do it in a workflow?
Yeah, I hear you on that.
You got a lot of support in the chat on that one, Chris.
Exactly.
Thank you. Chris Carolyn, thank you.
Yeah, in regards to the centralized customer data model comment.
Yes.
So this is related to the everything is an object land that we all hope to see. But kind of like Matthew's comment about everything is structured a certain way in objects like marketing events and in campaigns, but also as we see a lot of the content hub tools coming into play, like it's not hard to understand that the blog and the podcasts have similar data structures behind them, but since they're not touching any of the other CRM property infrastructure, it's kind of, there's a black box feeling, and instead I'm creating custom objects to represent things that I know the podcast object is trying to do. And I actively talk to the team about this, but that's where the property infrastructure, especially as it relates to AI, should be super powerful. And if we can align all the objects across the system to use that same infrastructure, things should get a lot easier in terms of consistency and also power of the whole system.
Thank you for that. And a trifecta of Chris is here. So Chris Osentowski.
Hey,
It's actually all three Chris's who were here in the meeting. So well done, guys.
Yeah, I figured we had to stick together. Appreciate y'all making the time and space for this. One thing that I think about a lot, I work for a HubSpot partner. We have a lot of onboarding clients in the, in a consistent issue that I run into, and this is onboarding clients. This is, larger project clients that we deal with. Really everybody is that adoption and getting people on it. And I just wonder if there would be I know you have those prompts and, like when you first log on, hey, what is your primary role and different things like that. But thinking about, I've been thinking a lot about a sales user sort of templated prompt, similar to how we would set up permissions for a sales user that we're adding, but something that would prompt them to connect their email, that would walk them through that very, very clearly in those first few steps. I know there's a lot of sort of information out there, but that first step, I think, has prevented a lot of companies from companies being able to get people to really get their sales team to sink in. And that sort of those first couple steps, I know we all know are super important. And absolutely, Ben, I see your comment of using playbooks for that. I think especially early on, playbooks aren't the first priority for someone to set up as they're setting up a portal. But yeah, I don't know, just thinking about getting salespeople through the first few setup steps that they only need to do once, and having it a little bit more on the track, so they can't really derail for the specific end user when they're added. So yeah, just wanted to toss that out to hopefully increase adoption down the line. I don't know if I'm maybe missing something. I'm seeing a lot of really good comments that I'm going to read in a minute here, but yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris. I think that's all the ones that we basically had kind of accounted for, unless Christine, if you want to end with the one data question or something like that. I don't know.
No, I actually, because I'm noticing so much help from you guys with each other in terms of figuring out workarounds. Do you have things that you think we should be doing on behalf of all portal users to make it easier for you guys to identify the best tool for whatever it is that you're trying to figure out? Taylor.
Oh, you're on mute. Taylor, you're on mute.
Sorry. So I think one like layup.
We're having
be starred with their most frequent ones, right? Because right now it's like owner, me, or whatever their last owner selection was. But we have, a set of 7 that, depending on what effort they're going through for that month or that campaign, where if they could just grab it quicker, right? Just a really easy time saving there. I think that could be a layup for a lot of teams. That's it.
Thanks, Taylor. And lots of comments about making the permissioning more granular so that you can have more controls over who sees what. Chris, did you want to add something else?
I believe there has to be an opportunity for more coaching tips throughout the platform. A couple of examples are when the data model overview checklist came out. It was kind of like 10 things to do, and it was a perfect opportunity to maybe link to the RevOps bootcamp at the top or some resource like before you go creating all these custom objects, please look at this thing. But then also related to a lot of the AI tooling that I'm hearing, and the property infrastructure should support this. It's instead of focusing on what's supposed to happen next or doing things for you, coaching admins and users to say, hey, you've created 10 lists in the last 2 days, and that's not really how this is supposed to work. Have you checked out record views? Or kind of looking at unnatural behavior in the platform and providing coaching tips, wherever possible. I think there's opportunity there.
I love that suggestion. That makes a lot of sense to me. Thank you, Chris. I think we are coming up at the end. Kyle, I don't know if you want to take us home. I want to thank everyone for all of your feedback. This is really, really great stuff. We're going to mine everything in the chat to make sure we're pulling forward these big themes that are coming up a lot.
Yeah, so I will be exporting out the chat and the few questions that were in the Q&A. I'll get those out too and share them with this team so they can take them from there. Are there any, Drew, Christine, Alex, Prashant, Erin, any next steps, any additional, anything else you want? Anyone else, any action anyone should take? Or
we're all going to be at Inbound this year. So if you see us, just come grab us, because you got to see our faces, so we don't know what you all look like, but just please, you're not bugging us. We're actually there to talk to customers. So if you see us, grab us and bend our ear, because we want to listen to your story and hear what you have to say. And we'll be there the whole basically Tuesday to Friday. So
we're all also in the Sprocketeer Slack community, so you can hit us up on there. We're definitely watching your feedback there as well.
All right. Well, thank you, team, for being here. Thanks, everyone, for joining. It's been another great event, and hope to see you all back next week.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kyle.
Hi, everybody.